Welcome to the fourth episode of Bros and Birdies, sponsored by Oxygen. I can't live if living is without you. This week we have a packed show. We review what happened last week at the Zurich Classic, where we saw the marriage of some golfers blossom and some that may need a relationship counsellor. And over on the Canary Islands, it was the Lopesan Gran Canaria Open at Melaniras, and it was, as predicted, a birdie fest. By my virtual side again this week is the engine room of this partnership, the man that creates a spreadsheet for a shopping list, the man that used to love putting chalk on his cue, and the man that now polishes his balls as he chases some guy called Jack. It's the man that all weird men aspire to be. It's my brother. Well, hello, mate.
Hey, bro, how you doing? Yeah. Oh,
Hey,
looking forward to this week. It's going to be good.
oh, you sound excited. That's
I'm
great
excited.
to hear.
I'm super excited about this week.
Oh, yeah. Well, especially after last week's success, but we'll talk about that in a minute.
We will.
Yeah, so let's jump into it. But first and foremost, can I play you a song?
Why not? I'd love to hear it.
I prepared one, like a sort of appreciation society to Mark Leishman and Cammy Smith, the Aussie duo,
Ooh.
the Mullet Brigade. So this is my song to them. Enjoy.
G'day, mate. G'day, Mark. Ripper of a day, mate. Ripper of a day, Cammy. What a bonza day. Bonza day, mate. Bonza. Here we go. Deep down in Louisiana, close to New Orleans, saw an Aussie parent tearing up the greens. We all hoped they'd do it, and probably would, but only 'cause Cammy was so bloody good. He carried his partner like a carer should, carries a didgeridoo instead of a 3-wood. Go, 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 Cameron Smith, go, go. Go, Cameron Smith, go, go. Go, Cammy Smith, go, go. Go, Cammy Smith, go, go. Oh, and Leishman too. Can't forget Leishman, mate. He won this thing before, showing all the tricks. In 2017, with the owner's blicks. He likes to fish and catch a shark or a sole. He has to win his trophies with a playoff hole. Second in the Masters was pretty neat. Now he's off to barbecue some ostrich feet. Go, go. Go, Cameron Smith, go, go. Go, Cameron Smith, go, go. Go, Cammy Smith, go, go. Go, Cammy Smith, go, go. Oh, and Leishman too. Can't forget Leishman, mate. Oh, g'day, mate. Bonza of a day, mate. Bonza. Ripper. Mate, did you see Henrik and Justin? Jeez, mate. They're the Barry Crocker. Barry Crocker? Shocker. Haha, jeez, Bonza, mate. Bonza. Want to come round for a barbie? Throw another prawn on the barbie? Oh, mate, sounds like a Ripper idea. Just gotta walk my koala. What's your koala called? Oh, he's called Adam Scott, mate. I love my koala. Bonza, mate. Ripper. You ready for the last verse, mate? Oh, Ripper, ready, mate. We picked these boys to win and they took it down. Another mullet win in a different town. A Leishman helped a bit with that chip of 16. One of the best shot cams ever seen. Will he be his partner this time next year? Now when Adam Scott whispers in his ear, go, go. Go, Cameron Smith, 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 go, go. And Leishman too. G'day, mate. Bonza.
So, mate, first and foremost, I hope you like that song. That was all right, wasn't
Bloody brilliant. Absolutely.
it?
Loved it.
Hey,
You could be an
a lot
Aussie.
a lot of time on my hands. So let's jump straight into it. Last week, we've had 3 weeks of podcasts, Birdies and Bros, completed. Go over what we've achieved in those 3 weeks with the golfers we've given for our tips and our picks.
Yeah, it's been an interesting ride this last 3 weeks, really. Obviously we started out at the Masters, as everybody knows, and then we moved on to the Heritage and the Austrian Open, and last week, obviously, with the Zurich and the Gran Canaria. But we've been really close with some of our picks. We've been unlucky in some of them, certainly on the each way markets. But I'm pleased to report that over the 3 weeks thus far, we're about 14 and a half points up through all of our selections. Great win last week, obviously, with Smith and Leishman. And whilst it was an obvious pick for many, they clearly were in form, and we went with our courage and conviction and went with it. And they prevailed, albeit in the playoffs. So, yeah, it was great to get that W on the board for us. But we have backed that up with 3 really good placed selections. Obviously, we talked at the Masters with Justin Rose, and that was fairly big odds for that place. Connor's supporters there at the Masters. But again, last week, Kiefer, I talked Kiefer up big, and I think, you mentioned about Keimer putting the arm around him. 55-1 for me last week for Kiefer was big. And
mate,
that played off.
Kiefer second again, and the final round, he nearly had me reaching for the tissues. I mean, tissues for tears of joy, not for... Yeah, that was a great pick. You stood by him. Yeah, we did mention about Keimer putting his arm around him. This guy's not a kid. I think he's 30, isn't he? But, he still needs that bit of support, and he really stepped up and then came again strong and possibly could be there again this week. But, yeah, carry on.
Possibly. Yeah, so, all in all, I think it's a good start, good solid 3 weeks. As I say, 3 places and a win, and we're in profit. So hopefully we can take that forwards into this coming week and build on that, I think. And that's probably enough to be said about charting our progress in the first 3 weeks.
No, I love it. And it's, there's plenty more to come. You're developing new stats and new research. There was some coming today that you passed on, and I've had fun looking at them this morning. And we really do put a lot of effort into this, a lot of research. We, look at across all the sections of social media. We look at this great caddy network that are putting out bits of video content about what the courses are like and the caddies' approaches and how the players are feeling about these tournaments. So with all that content, it really is key that you have to go and find it. It's out there, right? And we are finding it, and we're coming up with some great picks based on research and everything that we look for.
We are putting in the overtime for sure. So hopefully our viewers and our listeners are benefiting from that overtime that we're putting in.
Well, a review of the Gran Canaria. Let's start there. And Garrick Higo, wasn't pulling up any trees in the stats. Was really quite low down on all the stats department going into last week. But he had, picked up a win on a course which produced a lot of birdies, his last win. And he was 19 under for that. And so he obviously is a player that likes to get after the course, and a course that is receptive to birdies and attacking play. And we saw that he had quite a lot of eagles. I think he only dropped 4 shots in the whole 72 holes.
You're right. Which was 4 shots. Yeah,
which is pretty impressive. And do you know something? I got a little stat for you. Do you know anything about his name?
I have no idea.
Right, Garrick is an old English name meaning one who governs with a spear. Right, and his spear last week was the golf club, and it worked for him. So a little interesting fact there. Not only did we come up with research,
love it.
We did research into names. God knows what Higo means, but I got Garrick anyway. That's a plus. Go on, Ed. What else do we?
He finished tied 4th at Austrian as well. So he was clearly someone who was in form, and yeah, he ripped up that course in Gran Canaria last week for sure. Other stats. I think sticking on the Higo theme, he was top 40 all the major stats last week. First in driving and second in scoring. So, he was rank up there, and he prevailed. A couple of other stats as well. You talked about eagles. Well, he actually only had 2 eagles throughout the whole week. There wasn't a lot of eagles scored last week, which surprised me massively for the course layout. If you look at all of the key players, Higo had 2 eagles, both on par 5s. And he birdied or eagled 11 of the 12 par 5s throughout the week. So, that stood him in good stead, backed up his 25 birdies, and he dropped very few shots. So he was a deserved winner, really, in the end. Obviously, disappointed we couldn't get Kiefer over the line, but Kiefer was up there with him. However, he did not eagle 1 par 5 throughout the whole 4 rounds. Eagle the par 4. he eagled a par 4. Exactly, he did. And he eagled, birdied 11 of the 12 par 5s, so mainly birdies. But he was top in birdie ranking, 28 birdies last week. But his downfall, he only lost by 3 shots, 6 bogeys and 1 double. And he was negative on the green and regulation stats, positive on the putting. He was putting out of his skin in those first couple of rounds. Some of the the yardage of putts was ridiculous. But Higo and Kiefer rightly up there, and they really did top the stats. Winther,
he was consistent as well. He only dropped 5 shots over the 72 holes, but by his own admittance, his putter let him down on quite a few occasions.
Absolutely did, yeah.
Loads of shots out there, missing some really short ones for him. And his driving wasn't particularly good last week, and he's headed off to the States on a course which you need to be quite straight. So I'm really not sure.
Interested in that move.
Chances later. Yeah,
he's English, but he actually grew up in America. I mean, if you've listened to him, he actually, he sounds like an American. That's where he's growing up. But he is an Englishman. But yeah, negative on the putting for him last week. But the positive with Horsfield, Craig, was that he didn't drop as many shots as he did the week before in Austria, as we talked about on last week's podcast. But Horsfield's a good call out. I want to go back to the Dane, Winther. He, again, 27 birdies, but 6 bogeys and 2 double bogeys for him really dropped him out of the frame. And he scored highly on the par 5s, 10 of 12 in terms of birdies or better. And he got 2 eagles. So very few players scoring eagles on the par 5s last week, I think, hurt them, really. But Higo prevailed, as we've already talked about. There's a few other names in the stats. Again, I just want to talk on a couple that are actually going on to play this week in Tenerife, and we'll come to that tournament in particular. But Connor Syme, he finished 18 under for the week. Yes, 7 shots off the winner. But he had 23 birdies. He had an 8 on a par 4. And again, we talked about this last week. This is shocking. Some of these golfers scoring big numbers on par 4s or par 5s. He had 5 bogeys, but he was somebody that I think was generating to go, and maybe we might see some of that this week. He's certainly got the game, the Englishman, for sure.
Well, he was coming down the stretch, and it was that pull into the rocks and the beach which did it for him. And then he played a terrible recovery, and so he's always against it. You take that away from that round, right? And he's finishing second or third, or maybe.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
A bit of momentum. I thought he played really well, but yeah, I think we'll touch on him a bit later.
He did, yeah.
I did like Marcus Armitage, the way he finished. Like I said last week about people finishing the tournament well. Lombard finished the tournament the previous week well and played really well today for our 250 to 1 pick. Marcus Armitage finished with a great round of 64, was really striking the ball well. Hopefully that takes him into this week as well.
Let's talk about Lombard, because you rightly said he was one of your picks last week, and at a very big price. In fact, he's a very big price for this week as well. He finished 11 under for the tournament. He didn't have a single eagle. 9 out of 12 par 5s he scored, but he let himself down on the bogeys and 2 double bogeys. That's 10 shots dropped. And he could have been a lot better. So Lombard definitely came last week with a game and could feature this week.
Ben Coley's jumped all over him this week. He said he was waiting to see how he performed in the Gran Canaria Open because he liked where his game was going, and now he's played well and he's jumped on him because he thinks this might be a birdie fest as well. So, and because he's done that, the price has cut a bit. He should be around about 200 to 1 again probably, but I think he's 150 because Ben's put him up. So there you go, the power of the tipster.
Yeah, a couple of our other tips last week. Obviously, Rosner. I mean, mediocre tournament for him at 15 under, but he had a good chance, and he was positive on driving accuracy. In fact, on driving accuracy as a stat, he was ranked number 1. Certainly in the 4th round, and he was high up in GIR and scrambling as well. He just didn't. I think the putting again let him down in 19 birdies, only 4 bogeys. But he had a chance, and he could have been a lot higher up, to be honest with you, for the each way money.
Struck it well on Sunday. Struck the ball really well.
Yeah, he did.
Sunday. Yeah. He was really out of sorts on the Friday, Saturday. I was watching his swing, and he just wasn't happy over the ball at all. But Sunday was a completely different player. So again, maybe we see that momentum carried into this week.
And the last mention for last week, our friend Sully, we called him out a couple of times last week. A poor show last week, I think. 6 under for the tournament, only just making the cut. But what a cut to make though. He had to birdie. He had to shoot 3 under on those final 3 holes in round 2, and he did it. He went birdie, 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 made the cut, didn't make the weekend charge that we were all expecting. And he was rusty last week, I think, and that's not like him. And I think we'll see better performances as the season goes on. So that's a few stats and my roundup of Gran Canaria.
I just want to add Harding. He seemed to have, right, he played well the beginning and the end of that course. He had a big problem in the middle section of the course last week. He just hardly scored any birdies through sort of 4 to 13. And, whether that didn't suit his eye, I'm not sure. But he was striking it well. You got a bit of a cough there, mate.
I have, mate. Yeah, not been too well this week, unfortunately. Anyway, less of my woes.
You're old anyway, so it isn't. Right, let's go Zurich Classic. What do you reckon?
Good old Zurich
Classic.
Winners. Chicken dinners. Lovely.
Aussie winners.
I think, again, well, it was an exciting playoff, wasn't it? It's, I think, Oosthuizen and Schwartzel are South African friends. They could have easily turned the Aussies over, but I think it was written in the stars, really, that, the whole Cameron Smith really ribbing his colleague Leishman about his poor performance in round 1, saying he was carrying him, and he really was carrying him, but Leishman brought it over the final 2 rounds, and really, that shot at 16.
Well, I wouldn't go as far as saying he brought it the final 2 rounds. I think there was little moments of genius.
Played a lot better.
But he would have to, really. He couldn't play a lot worse, could he? Jesus. You may as well have Tiger Woods there, the way he was playing on the first day. But he carried him. There's no 2 ways about it. I don't care what anyone says. And yes, he came up with that chip on 16, as mentioned in the song. But I did think he carried him. And Cam Smith has gone so high in my expectations. I love that man. He's no airs and graces about him. He is what he is, has a bit of a giggle. But bloody hell, has he got a game?
He's definitely bringing it, isn't he? I mean, he's up there. He's rising very quickly. Hopefully he can, keep level-headed and keep it going. But yeah, he's your typical Aussie male, isn't he? He's a laughable character for sure. But I didn't like the format of I don't really like the format of the competition, if I'm brutally honest, Craig. I think, it's one of those competitions that you can't really rely too much on the form, in my opinion. I think, we obviously saw, really good scoring. And, with that round 1 and 3 format, but different to rounds 2 and 4, it kind of really does expose the weaknesses of some players. And we saw that in rounds 2 and 4 in some of the pairings for sure. But yeah, 20 under, decent score, 25 birdies for the winners. Again, only 1 eagle. 1 eagle throughout the 4 rounds. You would have expected more across some of those par 5s.
Look at the you look at the best ball for both, the playoff lads. 63-63 for both pairings in both round 1 and 3.
Yeah,
that's some scoring.
And included a double bogey as well for Smith and Leishman, so it makes the win, I guess, look even better. Yes, 20 under, obviously tied, but, playoff win, great win. Followed up by, who saw this pairing coming out? Rowensky and Uline. I mean, seriously, they lost by 1 shot.
I spoke to you during the week, right, during the tournament, and I know it's easy to say during the tournament, but let's look at Ulihine's performances on the Corn Ferry Tour. And it wasn't that long ago where Rowensky was playing it quite well, hitting the ball quite well. So Ulihine's form coming into this was pretty strong. And I think that reflected in the tournament. There were some terrible, terrible performances in the alternate shots, as you just mentioned. That really, that separated the wheat from the chaff right there. And you can see whose games were on song. You can see whose games were definitely not on song. And
most surprising of all that was Rose and Stenson. I really didn't think they would have been as poor on the alternate shot format as they were, really. And, they'd lost by 5 shots. I think,
Rose's approaches, short approaches, were absolutely shocking. Absolutely shocking. Didn't like it at all. And what killed it for them was the Saturday. On Saturday when people are shooting 63, like the leaders were, shooting a 2 under for best ball. That's criminal. You can't do that.
Yeah, I mean, you say that, but it was equally the final round as well. I mean, they had 4 bogeys in the final round. In fact, 7 of the 8 bogeys were in the foursomes. So it's kind of a bit criminal. But I expected more of Rose and Stenson. They didn't quite live up to the billing and were 5 shots off the pace at the end. But yeah, some names in there that you wouldn't normally expect, and Rahm and Palmer. They just didn't gel in the foursomes, did they? They finished 17 under, only 3 shots off, and that's, again, it was the foursomes that let them down. So for previous winners, again, a little bit of a shock there. And Rahm didn't bring his game.
Prices were short on that tournament, 12
yeah, they were.
For our winners, and I think 7-1 Rahm was, it's really bad pricing. So for that tournament, I wasn't happy with all the value. I needed Stenson and Rose to come in, big price. They just fell outside the top 5. And Hooch and Homer.
Hooch and Goma.
Hooch and Homer and Gooch, yeah. They played quite well and threatened for a short while. But hey, so I think that pretty much rounds up. Unless you've got anything else to add for the Gran Canaria.
No, not really. I think that's it really in our review of last week's tournament. So
we don't want to
as good as it gets.
Too much on the win and the profits and stuff like that. But so we'll move on. So we'll move on to the Tenerife Open. Now you're going to tell us a bit about this, but we're going to see this course for the next 2 weeks. So give us a little course preview of Tenerife, and I'll add a little bit of weather in there as well.
Yeah, so in Tenerife, there's not really much course form in recent years to go on, for sure. I mean, the last time that actually this golf course hosted an event was the Open de España in 2003, when it was won by an Englishman called Kenny Ferry. And God, I wonder where Kenny Ferry is now. He's probably working in a chip shop or something. But
sounds like it's going over the Mersey.
Yeah, something like that. So it's being hosted again, for the first time, 18 years, and it is replacing the postponed Open de France. The course is relatively short in terms of tour standards at 6,900 yards. It's a par 71. We have 4 par 5s ranging from 518 to 572. So again, like last week, I think a lot of the par 5s for me were in range for a lot of these players, but we didn't see a lot of eagles being scored. And maybe this week might be a little bit tougher with the weather. And we'll come on to the weather in a minute because it could be a factor. But interestingly enough, there are 6 par 3s on this course this week. And, that they are longer than what we saw at Gran Canaria. They're 164 to 240. 240 is long for par 3 on current standards. So what I would advise everybody is to maybe look at par 3 stats this week. It may play a factor in what is potentially going to be a tough tournament with conditions not being fair for the players. But that's a little bit about the course, but a little bit more really in terms of the design of this course, and the architect who actually was instrumental in designing it, used the natural features of the land to integrate them into the course, which was actually on an original banana plantation. So hopefully this week there won't be any slip-ups.
Hey, boom, boom.
How'd you like that one?
He's here all week.
I'll take bookings.
Jesus Christ, yeah.
So yeah, that's the Tenerife kind of. It's a double header as well. Everyone, we've got 2 tournaments like we've seen. Banana skin, but yeah, hopefully not our selections this week. But like Cyprus and Kenya, we've got a double header in Tenerife, next 2 tournaments. So maybe next week we'll have a little bit more course form to go on, and I'm sure we'll see some of the similar players. But like I've just alluded to, I think the weather's going to be a factor this week, brother.
Yeah, I've looked a bit. I've looked at a bit of the weather. I said, have you seen anything different than I've seen? Are we looking at different websites or?
I don't know. Tell me what you got.
Well, I looked at it, and Ben Cole and a few other tipsters turn around and say, "Nah, that's just going to be a gentle breeze again." I think that's completely wrong. Right? Monday it was blowing a hoolie. People were saying if it blows like this during the course, it's going to be carnage out there. And I looked at the forecast, and the winds are going to pick up sort of Friday, Saturday a little bit. You're looking at 13 to 15 miles per hour, but the gusts, because obviously the coastal course, the gusts that are going to be coming in, they'll make that probably 25, 30 in some cases. I'm not sure. I'm really fed up, right? Really fed up with the European Tour website. Now I know they haven't got the money of the PGA Tour and what have you, and they do their best. And yeah, okay, we've had it all, we've heard it all, but it's rubbish. There's one gripe from someone on Twitter who always says that they get the ins and the outs on the course the wrong way round. So they don't get the in 9 and the out 9. They get it all completely wrong. That's easy to fix. No one does it. And the tee times. How can we have the PGA tee times up on a Tuesday morning, right? And yet the European Tour tee times are not up at all, because I think that's going to have a factor. I'm looking
a massive factor this week, I think.
Well, I'm looking late starters on Thursday, early starters on Friday. Could have a 2-3 shot swing on here. So I'm waiting. I've got my picks ready and what have you, but can't really completely be fully behind him until see when they're going out. And that's my gripe. And I think the weather will play a part. It will be breezy. But the first 2 days, they've got to make use of the scoring.
So we got a proviso on the picks then, brother. I think we might have to come up with something based on when the tee times are issued. But yeah, definitely a factor. I think I agree with you in terms of a lot of what you said about the weather. I think a couple of other things. I think we're looking, certainly if you look at the forecast, somewhere between a 40 to 70% chance of rain with highs of 8 degrees on the Thursday. I'm not touting to be a weather forecaster here, but this is what we are currently being told, and I think we could see similar conditions Friday and Saturday with lesser chance on Sunday and maybe a bit fairer. So I think it's going to be tougher this week, and I do think the weather is going to play a factor. Maybe we won't get the high scores that we've seen or that we saw at Gran Canaria, but certainly a challenge for sure. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, no, it's going to be. I think it's going to be another great week. I think we'll see the guys from last week still up there. So on that, let's move on to our picks. You go first, mate. What have you got then, these?
I'm not really pulling up any trees this week, to be honest with you. I think, with the way that the tour is performing, we're seeing a lot of the similar golfers. I really do think current form is a big factor. We don't have anything to go, as I've already said, on course form. So current form for me has to be the presiding factor here. And my first pick is I'm going to stick with our German friend Kiefer. I still think he's big at 28 to 1. He was 33 to 1 yesterday, and he's been clipped a little bit. But
what does a guy got to do? Finish second week after week? And,
yeah, it could be a steal. It could, they could get burnt over this, but yeah. We'll see. We'll see whether he carries it over to Tenerife. So he's my first pick, and I think he's definitely going to be up there. My second pick, again, this is really not exciting, but I'm going to go with last week's winner and the previous week's tied fourth, Garrick Higgo. He's 18 to 1, and it might seem an obvious pick, but again, someone who's in current form cannot be ignored. And I think they're my two. Yes, they're high up in the market from a betting perspective, but they're my first two. My other one is Winther, the Dane, and I think at 55 to 1 off the back of last week's performance, finishing third as he did, and he's certainly someone who can turn out a few good performances, and I think at 55 to 1 is good each way money. But I'll reserve maybe a couple of other picks until these tee times have come out and we've had a chance to really assess it. So they're my first three proviso picks. What about yourself?
Well, yeah, we can put stuff up on social media. Once the tee times have come off. So people that listen to this, you can go to Instagram, you can go to Twitter. We'll stick stuff up on there, and if there changes, you can see what we like and what we don't like based on tee time.
And YouTube, we're up on YouTube as well.
We are up on YouTube now. Yeah, obviously there's no videos of us because we're just doing it audio at the moment, and no one really needs to be scared away. Early days of birdies and bros and birdies. So yeah, we are available on YouTube. Go and find us, Bros and Birdies. But my picks, okay, right. So I do like Kiefer. I do like Higgo. I like Laurie Canter. But everyone's telling us, yeah, he's a class golfer and this, that, and the other. And he's still a maiden, still hasn't won. He scores a lot of birdies, but why hasn't he won? Why hasn't he got over that finishing line? He's had quite a few weeks off. Will his game be right on song? Because, like you said, players that have been up there in form. This is a course, again, where it's going to be precision irons, attacking those pins. Will he be sharp? So I haven't put him in there, even though I do quite like him. My first one is Marcus Armitage. Like I said before about Lampard, I like a player that finishes off the tournament well. Marcus Armitage did last week. And I think he's a decent player. He can get the job done. He's 60-1. Played well last week. He has the ability to attack those pins. He's a decent putter when he's hot. 60-1, good price. Connor Syme, you mentioned him before. If it wasn't for that terrible 8, and every golfer can have a shocker. It goes without saying. It's the nature of the beast. But 50-1 after finishing top 10 last week, and we know that he can drive the ball well. He's very consistent, and when he gets on it, he can certainly be up there with the best of them.
I think it's a decent price, yeah.
I think he's a cracking price, yeah. And another one, right? I never thought I'd revisit this guy. I never thought I'd let him back in my house, but I've let him back in. The door was open, and he took his opportunity. It's Harding, and I know he's 30-1, and I know he didn't play that middle section of the course last week very well. But I saw signs when I was watching. I saw signs that he was hitting that ball quite well and quite confident come the end of the round on Sunday. So I think he is very much a confidence player once you get on. We've seen in tournaments this year. And I think a 30-1 is good value. So there you go. Marcus Armitage, Connor Syme, Justin Harding, 60-1, 50-1, 30-1. No short favourites. I was looking at Rosner, but I was a little bit disappointed the way he was playing. So for me, no. So they're my picks.
Yeah, good picks at decent prices.
Yeah, all good bit of value there. We've got players that have been in form, but I think we both pretty much stuck with the form angle on that. Okay, let's move on to the Valspar, Innisbrook, Copperhead, Snake Pit, Tampa Bay. Yeah, we're in Florida. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I like this tournament. I think it's a tough course. It's a course that's up there. The players love this course. It's ranked up very highly on the schedule for a lot of the players, and it's certainly going to bring a test. I think it's the last event on the Florida swing, I think, this week. But again, we're looking at a par 71, just over 7,300 yards long. I've already talked about, a favourite of the players for sure. I think this week, we're going to be looking for players who have really good statistics off the tee and also driving accuracy. I think there's a premium on that kind of driving accuracy, good off the tee. It's a mighty tough course for sure. And, you just referred to that Snake Pit, and we'll come back to that in a minute. But this course is a tough one. It's got 4 traditional par 5s, fair-sized par 5s as well. Who knows whether we see all the eagles, but it certainly is going to be tough. And 5 par 3s. But going back to the Snake Pit, 2 tough, really, really tough par 4s, either side of the par 3 17th, which is 215 yards, and that is referred to as the Snake Pit. So earlier on, we had the Bear Trap, we've got the Snake Pit. The Americans love this with their courses, but it's certainly going to be really tough this week. And I've given a couple of pointers in terms of what you need to look out for in the stats this week. But first call outs, I'm going to give really, there's a little bit about the course there. That is, Paul Casey. He's looking to join that illustrious 3-peater group alongside the likes of Woods, Nicholas Palmer, Steve Stricker, and a few others to mention. I think even Appleby's in there, and but Stricker's not long. So can Casey do it? Wasn't played last year because of COVID and tournaments being stopped. It was last played in 2019, but he won 18-19, and he's looking to come back for that hat trick. I don't know if you got any points on the course, brother. It's loads of elevation in the course. Half of the course has elevation of around 5 yards up or down. So constantly on the elevation. It's tree lined. There's lots of bunkers. So you're going to need a good sand player this week. Really firm, Bermuda greens. And you talked about
the par threes, 5 of them, they're all really different as well. They all have something different, a different approach, a different. It's a course you really need to think about, and that's reflected in some guys that have won here in the past. You're looking at 100 to 150 to 175 yard approaches there. That's the sort of key distance you perhaps want to be looking at in your stats. The par fives, you mentioned it, there's 4 of them. There's 3 of them that are really hard to get on into. The first par 5 you can get on into, a lot of people will. The others are more of, the short wedge, that short wedge game. And, likes of Rose, the way he was playing poorly with his short wedges last week, I don't think he'll have any joy there. So that's me. That's
just a couple of other points. As I've already said, I think tee to green stats are going to rank highly. So, for anybody that's out there looking at their statistics, look back at the last few weeks, look back at the last few tournaments that have been played at Copperhead. If you look at Casey in particular, and the other point I'm going to make as well is not so much of a premium on putting this week. And the reason for that is if you look at Casey's win in 19, he led the field in total driving and strokes gained tee to green, but he finished 43rd in strokes gained putting. So that's the emphasis around, not so much of a premium on the putting for someone like Casey, who's won back-to-back in 18 and 19. But Casey also finished tied 55th in par 4 scoring. That was low for someone who goes and wins the tournament.
That is low. It's quite surprising, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's, for me, this tournament isn't a shootout. I don't think we're going to see the high scores that we've seen, in recent weeks.
Which is good. We all like to see birdies and stuff like that, but we do like to see a challenge every now and then, do we not?
Absolutely. And this course is going to be a challenge.
I want to say a nice little mention here, right, for Michael Visacki, who was on the social media. He was on the phone to his dad in tears to tell him the good news. He only turned pro 7 years ago, but he qualified for the PGA Tour and will play this week.
Wow.
He qualified for this tournament. And it's such a nice thing to say. See, he looks like an American version of Beef, Andrew Johnson, to be fair. He's a big lad, he's very hirsute. And good luck to him. So, if he is listening or anyone listening out there, Michael Visacki, go well today, pal. Or this week, even. So, anything else to add before we go on to our pick?
Just the weather, really. Again, we talked about the weather in Tenerife and here in America this week. We're going to see total opposites. You've got highs of 28 to 31 degrees, so it's going to be really hot, and therefore there is a little bit of a chance of inclement delays, possibly on Friday. 50% chance of rain on Saturday, and then 30 to 40% chance on the Sunday. So we could see a weather impacted tournament. But it's going to be hot and clammy there in the States this week. So these guys are fit. They can handle these conditions, and I'm looking forward to the challenges that Copperhead is going to bring.
No, I totally agree. Looking forward to watching it this weekend. So picks. I'll go first on this one, seeing as you had the honour last time. I really liked, and I looked back at how the players scored in the best ball tournament last week, and you get an indication of where their game's at. They're striking the ball well, making a lot of birdies. And Sam Burns made a lot of birdies. And for me, 90-1 for a lad that is hitting the ball well. Is a big price. Come on. Samba is a good player. He's been quite consistent this year in ball striking, and the stats are well up there. And for me, 90-1, good value. Another player who played well in the Zurich Classic was Keegan Bradley. And the way he hit the ball in the best balls, I liked it. If he can get his game going, then he's such a confidence player. And I think he's due a return to some good form. And I think Keegan Bradley, 70-1, also a bit of value. My third player is, and I think you might like him, is Louis Oosthuizen, who played well with Charles Schwartzel. And it was difficult with Charles because, he's been a bit out of sync a little bit, and he hasn't been playing the game that he might have shown 5 years ago or whatever. But Louis was really striking that ball well. I know he put it in the water, coming up the stretch in the Zurich, but all in all, he was hitting the ball well, making some birdies, and he quite likes it around here. He's played well around here in the past. So 3 players for me: Sam Burns, Keegan Bradley, and Louis Oosthuizen.
Yeah, definitely like Louis, certainly off the back of last week. And, unfortunate that, he put it in the water and, they could have got through. But, yeah, good pick, I think, that one. The first one for me, Jason Kokrak. I think, he likes this course.
Okay.
He appears high up on, certainly the stats. And certainly, we talked about strokes gained, tee to green. He's certainly that type of player. And for me, though, he's an underachiever, Jason Kokrak, in the grand scheme of things. Sooner or later, I think that win is going to come. Whether it's this week, I'm not entirely sure. And I think he's probably a little bit short, really, for a pick. But nevertheless, he's in my squad. And at 35-1, Jason Kokrak is in. Second one, Joaquin Niemann. Again, he fits a similar profile. He does like this course. He's certainly played well here before. Maybe a little bit short again, but I think his price really backs up the guy's talent. And, at 35-1, I think he's definitely going to be there or thereabouts. So Kokrak, Niemann, and my one I really like this week, he's a quirky character. He's a lefty. It's Bubba Watson.
Oh, God.
I like Bubba Watson's chances this week. I know he's a frustrating character to watch. But I think, he showed a little bit of form last week in particular. That there were definitely glimmers of hope there with Watson's game. And if he can, get over some of the barriers that he often has to climb over or these hurdles and this self-confidence thing, I think he certainly could bring the game this week. And Bubba Watson finished tied 4th when it was played in 2019 when Casey won. And he didn't shoot an over par round. And so it shows that he's got a liking for the course. I know it was 2 years ago, but, like Kokrak's got good form here in 18 and 19, a tied 8th and a tied 2, with, again, really good low-scoring rounds here for the toughness of this course. The same applies to Louis Oosthuizen, who you've picked as well. But Watson, he's definitely got the game. And at 55-1, I think he's a little bit big. And my final pick, I'm going to stick with this guy. It's another Aussie. I've talked him up a few times over the last few weeks. And at 100-1, this guy's good on the stats. He's a good driver of the ball.
Cameron Davis, isn't it?
It's Cameron Davis. And at 100-1, I'm going to keep on with Cameron Davis because I really do think he's going to break through. And, maybe we're playing for place money, each way money this week, but 100-1, he can't be ignored. So for me, it's Kokrak, Niemann, Watson, and Davis.
What about a random thing where you could have a winner in Europe, same name as Garrick Higgo, Garrick Porteous, and then you could have in the States, same winner, Cameron Smith, Cameron Davis. Oh, it's written, it's aligned in the stars. Mystic Meg. Anyway, yeah, Bubba Watson, 69, 71, 70, 68 in 2019.
Yeah.
Is he still the same player a couple of years down the line? We'll have to see. But yeah, I like your picks, mate. We both like it, Louis. So there they are, guys. There are our picks for the 2 tournaments this week. We've still got a little bit to talk about, but I just lighten the air, lighten the mood. All right, there was this lady that was playing around the golf at a club, right? And she was with the club pro. 15 minutes later, after leaving the clubhouse, she returns looking really flustered and upset. And I said, "What's wrong?" She goes, "Well, I've only been gone a short time, but I've been stung by a bee." I said, "Where did it sting you?" She goes, "Oh, between the first and second hole." I said, "Oh, your stance is too far wide, love." Anyway, so this lately the news, the PIP, the Player Impact Program.
The Player Impact Program. Yes.
Talk us through it, mate, because I know that you're really interested in this and you like your social media and stuff like that. So give us a little rundown of what this is.
I think it's a little bit controversial. I think, but it's certainly something that's very different. I mean, Player Impact Program, we're talking about a program that's being introduced to the PGA Tour, which was really brought about as a result of some fears that there was a Premier World Golf League that was, certainly over the last few years, that was being bandied about and, trying to drag players away, similar to maybe what we talked about last week with the football in the UK or in Europe, with this European Super League. And we had a little bit
Mate,
of
I think this is a reaction to our podcast when we talked about the World Golf League. They came out with it straight after that.
straight after. But interestingly enough, yeah, I mean, there are some other factors, but yeah, so that's the driving factor behind the program. But the program itself is to try and reward players who drive engagement with sponsors and fans. This is nothing about the ability of the game of golf. This is everything about money and commercialism and all of that. We're talking about a $40 million bonus pool, $40 million of which gets paid out to 10 players, with $8 million going to the first ranked player. Now, the interesting thing about this PIP, as I'm going to refer to it rather than Player Impact Program because it's shorter, is that there are a number of factors that determine who get that money. And the factors for me are really interesting. So let's go with the first one. First factor is the popularity in a Google search. I mean, everybody's using Google every single day, and but
SEO,
popularity,
SEO.
yeah, popularity is a big factor. That's the first talking point. And then we go into a really few weird factors, really, and it's going to be hard to follow this, but we'll go through them. The Nielsen branding exposure rating. It's all about resonance. Okay, so this really is, there's going to be a rating out there for everything, and we're going to have people working away in the background, understanding what people are doing with their social media, how they're integrating with sponsors and fans, and are players going to be more focused on this than the game of golf? I don't know. And for me, that's why it's a little bit controversial. But this whole resonance thing is quite striking. The next point, the Q score or the Q rating is all about how well known these golfers are to the general public. So again, you're going to find some of these players are probably going to be more focused on generating popularity to the wider public than focusing on their game. So maybe we're going to see a few golf tournaments being won by people you wouldn't normally expect because the mind is elsewhere. The MVP index rating, it's all about social media engagement. So again, social media engagement, how well are they known to the public? Resonance. And then the last one, meltwater mentions. It sounds like a fancy pudding you get in a restaurant. It's all about the frequency.
Wasn't that on a dinner recently? I'm not sure. I don't know.
Well, maybe it was, maybe it wasn't, but it certainly could be something that's generated in some of these restaurants in America. Meltwater mentions, seriously. It's about the frequency a player generates coverage across social media platforms. So, these factors are going to determine really how this pot is going to be drawn down. For me, I'm going to be a little bit cynical, right? Tiger Woods, unfortunately, isn't playing at the moment. Long path to recovery. Is he ever going to get back? But for me, he's obviously massive in social media. He's big for the game. But is this more about a Tiger Woods benevolent fund than actually anything else? Controversial statements. Maybe people are going to be talking about this, but that's my view on it, really. But one final point on this, Pip, Craig, is, if you look at they did a simulated impact based on scores from 2019. And it's no great shakes to probably understand that Tiger Woods was ranked number one. So Tiger Woods would have got that pot. He would have got that 8 million to add to all the other millions that he's got from everything else that he's got his finger in, various different pies. No more comments, no jokes, please. But Tiger Woods was ranked number one. Rory McIlroy was ranked number two based on simulated scores. And yet he's done nothing in the game in recent times. So again, is Rory going to be someone who's going to be benefiting more financially rather than actually playing on the course and focusing on winning tournaments? Brooks Koepka, number 3. Phil Mickelson, number 4. We all love Lefty, and the one thing here is that Lefty's always been a fan person. He does a lot for his sponsors and some of these funds. the charities, etc. But he's big with the fans. He's always out there talking to them, signing autographs. So for me, he deserves to be up there. But then you've got Fowler, Spieth, JT, JR, and then Adam Scott. Adam Scott was surprising, really, to be in that top 10. So there's a little bit about the PIP, or the project, the player impact program. But yeah, really emotive topic for me, I think, as you've probably guessed.
Yeah, no, it's been great to listen to. Like Meltwater pudding fashion fingers.
Meltwater mentions.
The thing with Brooks, Brooks Koepka, all he has to do is be sitting on the back of a boat and his girlfriend in her bikini feeding him grapes, and all of a sudden he's right up there on the SEO. Everyone's searching for it and zooming in. And I don't know. Is this because Tiger Woods is on his way out? Do they know that Tiger Woods brings so much social media content and following to golf just because of his status? Are they sort of reacting to that, the possibility of that and his injury? I'm not sure. But all I know is that Cameron Smith's going to have to bloody well get a Twitter account, which he hasn't got at the moment. There's a Cameron Smith on Twitter, but I think he's an Australian rugby league player or something like that.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, that was really interesting to listen to, mate. And it'll be interesting to see what it's all about and how it develops over the coming months, and people will be having a lot to say about it. So, oh, hello, dog in the background.
Yeah, dog in the background.
Doesn't like the PIP. Anyway, let's look ahead to next week. I think we're pretty much done. Next week we are at the same course as you mentioned before, Costa del Deji, for the Tenerife Championship, which replaces the Open de France, Marlene. And then we've got over in the US, we go to Quail Hollow. So we move to North Carolina. So we're out of the Florida swing and we're moving to Quail Hollow for the Wells Fargo Championship. So lots to take in for you guys. We've given you a lot of information there. We've given you a song. We've given you a few jokes, one about a banana. And there we are. That's the end of episode 4. I don't know if you've got anything to say, Graham.
No, other than really enjoyed this one today. I think, we've thrown a few other things in there to obviously sort of get the juices flowing a little bit more. Loving the fact that we're getting more listeners to the podcast series, more followers on social media. This is a an interest for us. We love the game of golf, and hopefully everybody is going to spread the word and get some more listeners. So yeah, and we'll bring you more content. But really enjoyed this week, Craig.
It's good. Lots to talk about, and yeah, like you said, we love the game, so we can talk about it all day long. So there you go. There it is. Enjoy, follow the golf, and most importantly, during these times, stay safe, keep talking. Mental health is a big issue, and if there's an issue, it's good to talk. So from my brother and I, it's good luck, and we'll see you next week for episode 5.
See you, folks.